right, Ms. Aurorah is back. Secured Entrepreneurs. 2 of you emailed this article to Ms. Aurorah. And as always, I want to thank you for emailing. Please continue to do so at info@aurorahdayconsulting.com. Now, this is about President Biden and his proposal to tax the ultra rich. They're calling it the billionaire's tax. All right. And Grant Cardone clearly has a lot to say about this tax. Now, this has been an ongoing conversation for the past few weeks. And I keep sharing with the Secured Entrepreneurs how these taxes on everything that you're doing. I mean, go ahead and buy a concert ticket. Go online, Ticketmaster, buy your concert ticket and look at the tax. You got this fee that you don't know what the fee is about. Go ahead and buy an airline ticket. There's the tax. And all these fees that you have no idea what they are about. There was one fee that was on my the past few times I had an airline ticket, I kept seeing this fee. And I called the customer service rep to find out what one of these fees were. And she said it had something to do with the security due to 9/11. I said, what? There are so many taxes that are just made up. So now President Biden is saying there's no way that an ultra rich person should pay less tax or no tax in comparison to people like, teachers and things like this. He's naming professions. Okay. But it sounds to me like it's always going to be an individual that really is having the issue. Okay. If you're a sole proprietor, you're the one that's going to have the issue. The secured entrepreneurs are not really going to have this issue. So I want to get into the article and talk about this wealth tax and how it is that we're going to legally avoid it. Okay, can we do it? All right, so for those of you who do not know who I am Miss Aurorah Dey, and this is the Secured Entrepreneur Movement. Now, Secured Entrepreneurs, here he is, the man of the hour. Grant Cardone slams Biden's tax proposal as another attempt to destroy middle-class America. Now, bear in mind, this is a billionaire's tax. This is a wealth tax. Now, the last time Ms. Aurorah checked, middle class was between $43,300 something odd dollars and $100,000 or $103,000, something like that. Some secured entrepreneur put it in the comments if I'm mistaken, but I understand that middle class starts at 43,000 and then upper middle class starts at 100,000. Okay, so Grant Cardone is saying this is another attempt to destroy middle class America. So I'm going to explain why this doesn't really make too much sense as it relates to him saying middle class America. So the article says, real estate mogul Grant Cardone took aim at the Biden administration's proposed 25% tax on unrealized gains on taxpayers with wealth greater than $100 million. Okay. Now, if the tax is on someone who has wealth greater than $100 million, that's not middle class, nor is it upper middle class. So I was trying to figure out what was going on with the statement that was being made about him saying another attempt to destroy the middle class. Okay. And it also says asking his followers on X to imagine the value of their homes or stocks increasing $400,000. You would owe $25,000 without selling. Cardone posted another attempt to destroy middle class America. So what he's saying here is that the tax is for gains that the government is aware of you getting. You're going to get these gains if you sell because the price of your home or your stocks have increased. So before you have the opportunity to cash out or sell, you will be taxed. Similar to before you get your paycheck at your job, you are taxed. So that's what this is, and that's what Grant Cardone's complaint is about. That there's nowhere in the world he is going to buy into this particular type of tax where you are having your unrealized gains taken from you before you have the opportunity to, like I'm saying, enjoy them. All right. So it says the budget of the United States government for fiscal 2025 proposes a new minimum tax on income and unrealized capital gains for the small number of American centimillionaires. Now, this is not middle class. Centimillionaires, more than 100 million in total wealth. There are 28,420 centimillionaires in the world in 2023. Secured entrepreneurs. There are more, because this was in 2023, now it's 2024, so you got to know something, right? They're saying that there were 28,420 centimillionaires, and now these are on record. We're not talking about the people who don't file a tax return or things like that. Think about that. The question is, who's next? If you've got more than 28,000 centimillionaires in the world, who's next? Hello, raise your hand if you're sure. That's me. Okay. Unrealized gains are an increase in the value of an asset on paper, not a gain through a sale or other event. Frank Holmes, the CEO and Chief Investment Officer of U.S. Global Investors, called the proposal fundamentally flawed in an article he wrote for Forbes. Comment below, secured entrepreneurs. Comment below. Is the proposal fundamentally flawed? Imagine purchasing shares in a company for $1 million and next year those shares appreciate to $1.5 million, Holmes wrote. Under Biden's plan, you would owe taxes on this $500,000 gain, despite not having sold the shares or realized any actual profit. But what if the stock's value drops back to $1 million the following year, and you've already paid the 25% gain? Now, this is a viable question. This question makes a whole heck of a lot of sense to anybody who understands money, to anybody who understands math. We say that the math ain't mathing, and the numbers don't lie, right? So that's a logical question. Now, you're also left shouldering a financial burden without any actual economic benefit, Holmes wrote. In addition to taxing increases in the value of a property that has not been sold for the highest net worth Americans, the tax would reduce capital available for startups and small businesses that rely on investment from individuals who will take risks with the hope of earning a return on their investment. What say you, secured entrepreneurs? What say you this day? How do you feel about that? Now, I do know that there are many entrepreneurs out here who never really prepare themselves to receive any money. And then the ones who do prepare themselves to receive money, they are going to banks and they are qualifying for small business loans and things of that nature. They're not really getting into private equity things or getting angel funding and things like that. That's what I do know. Okay. So you all have to tell Ms. Aurorah your thoughts on that. By taxing unrealized capital gains, we discourage risk-taking and stifle innovation, essential elements for improving productivity and raising living standards. Well, here's what Ms. Aurorah sees. Ms. Aurorah sees that people who rent, their rent is going up every time they sign a new lease. And you can't go anywhere without seeing a ton of homeless people everywhere. So I'm not altogether with some of the things that are being said in defense of not having this thing, because I don't really see where the true needs in this country. I don't see the true needs of this country really being addressed by these ultra wealthy individuals. I don't see that there's any of that really going on. But you all, please, fight it out in the comments, because we're all in the same world here. Okay? Don't talk about living standards, because there's too much buffoonery going on there. Jen contends that taxing unrealized capital gains on property, stocks, and other assets would undermine economic growth and is likely unconstitutional. Probably is. However, the U.S. tax code does already allow this kind of accounting. That's true. Mark-to-market accounting aims to more accurately measure the fair value of accounts that fluctuate over time. Day traders make the election so that they can offset capital gains with capital losses. The process allows them to mark the value of the security to the new market value at the start of every year, effectively resetting gains or losses to zero. Okay, well, that's true. Taxing unrealized capital gains contradicts the basic principles of fairness and property rights essential for a free and prosperous society, Jen said. Taxation, if we're going to have it on income, should be based on actual income earned, not on paper gains that may never materialize. What say you, secured entrepreneurs? What say you? So let's see what the Biden administration has to say about what this wealth tax actually is. Okay, what is a wealth tax? A wealth tax is a broad-based tax on the value of all or most of the assets belonging to a wealthy individual or household, such as cash, property, vehicles, jewelry, and other valuable items. Okay, so now this is where we understand why, some people are just heated. They're heated right now because look, a wealth tax is is broad. So we're not, it could be anything of value, like they're saying. Tax on the value of all or most of the assets belonging to a wealthy individual or household, such as cash, property, vehicles, jewelry, and other valuable items. Unlike income tax, which is charged against annual earnings, a capital gains tax, which is imposed on profits accrued from the sale of an asset, a wealth tax is seen as a more holistic way of accounting for an individual's total wealth. Such taxes were once prominent in Europe, though implementation dwindled at the turn of the 21st century amid questions over their efficiency and a broader shift towards lower top-end tax rates. Okay, now pay attention to this. As of 2024, Switzerland, Norway, Spain, there's a typo here, are among the few countries to impose some form of wealth tax. But more countries are coming around to the idea. Colombia introduced a wealth tax in 2022, and the Scottish government is among others to have touted proposals. According to Aaron Advani, Associate Professor of Economics at the University of Warwick, the most effective wealth tax policies are those that are targeted and specific. If you want a wealth tax that's actually going to be effective at the top end, you typically want to start at quite a high threshold, Advani said, noting that historically abandoned policies either came in too low or allowed too many exemptions to generate sufficient tax revenues. That is true. There are so many tax exemptions, it's ridiculous. All right? A mass money exodus, because hello. Tax specialists note, however, that even well-designed wealth tax policies can be hard to enforce in practice, with questions arising over which assets should be taxed and who should be responsible for evaluating their value. Indeed, the potential for behavioral shifts is one of the top arguments leveled against wealth taxes. Critics point to the increased risk of a wealth exodus among the highly mobile super rich, including to tax havens, which they say undermines original efforts to boost government coffers. Now, didn't Ms. Aurorah explain to the secured entrepreneurs where most people are going right now? Because they're not trying to play these tax games. Okay, here we go. In 2022, when Norway increased its wealth tax on residents with assets above 20 million Norwegian kroner, 1.8 million, many flocked to Switzerland. Entrepreneur Tord Kolstad was one of approximately 70 super wealthy Norwegians who made the move in 2023. They doubled this taxation from one day to another. This is the reason Norwegian business owners are forced to leave the country. This is a great impact for a lot of people, me as well, and it's not sustainable in the long run. Okay. He is the founder and CEO of Norwegian Property Group. Okay, so let me back this up. All right, calls for the wealth tax on the world's super rich are once again gaining attention after U.S. President Joe Biden said he would impose a new billionaire tax on the country's wealthiest if re-elected in November. Outlining his 2025 budget proposals on Monday, Biden took aim at the uber affluent and reiterated plans for a 25% tax on Americans with a wealth of more than $100 million. No billionaire should pay a lower tax rate than a teacher, a sanitation worker, a nurse, he said last week during his State of the Union address. How many of the Secure Entrepreneurs watched it, okay? The plans previously outlined in the president's 2024 budget reignited a decades-old debate over how best to account for the wealth of the world's richest. The issue has taken on fresh significance this year, however, as governments globally look for new ways to plug dwindling public finances and tackle wealth inequality. Secured Entrepreneurs, I don't think that imposing this particular type of tax is actually tackling wealth inequality. As a matter of fact, I don't have to think. I know that tax is not the problem. People being ultra wealthy is not the problem that any country has. Taxing the ultra rich is not doing anything for individuals who are not ultra rich, okay? The system is going to run the same today, and it will run the same the next day if this thing goes through. There's no, you're not going to convince any thinking individual who has been living life in a certain way with the understanding that they are oppressed. They are oppressed financially in many other ways. We don't even have to get into that in this video. I want the Secure Entrepreneurs to comment below. Let Miss Aurorah know what your thoughts are on what's being said here.
So there's a few things that we could actually find interesting about President Biden deciding to hop on this billionaire's tax during this election, when, of course, as we know, if Trump is actually going to have the opportunity to be in the game, he is saying something totally different. And all the research is already in about his audience. I read that more than 90% of the individuals who voted for Trump were not even middle-class individuals. They were not middle-class people. They were what they would call in poverty, and they were not educated. I mean, if you read that, it's kind of like, wow, you know, we get an idea of how he has been able to attract these people, even though he doesn't have anything in common with any of those people. You know, he talks about people. I don't know if we can say that word on YouTube, but I'm just going to say people who weren't born and raised in the United States. Those people. But he comes from parents who were not born and raised in the United States either. It's such a. You all know what Mr. Roy is trying to say. It doesn't make any sense at all. But we know that if Biden is running with that, there's a chance that if Trump is able to do his thing, then yes, he's going to get more people voting for him, because nobody wants to hear this nonsense. And nobody wants to hear the nonsense simply because, like I said, It's not going taxing these ultra rich people or making up something to say that you're going to tax ultra rich people is not changing the circumstances of people who don't have any money. Is not changing the circumstances of, what did he say, school teachers, what did he say, a sanitation worker. These companies have already decided what type of salary they want to pay people. Is not getting people a raise. Like, the common sense has to be in it. And as secured entrepreneurs, we understand why we operate in total private trust. Because why is it that I would even allow the government to know that there's this type of wealth around anywhere? Okay, why would the house belong to me? Why would the estate, belong to me? Why would, what do they say? Oh, jewelry, all these things that they're saying, none of that belongs to me. As a matter of fact, I don't earn any income. I'm not a taxpayer. What are we talking about here? My whole life is operated by this private trust. And for those of you who have not taken the trust basis course yet, you need to go down the link below and get that course, because this is where things are going. Now, the other thing about this is, and I know some people have already thought it, if in fact something like this is possible, then there are other things that will be possible for people. What did I say? The rich get richer, the poor will continue to be poor and more poor. Okay? We don't have a system that is actually for the underdog, quote unquote. The system doesn't care how poor a person is. Okay, they're going to keep allowing people to come into your neighborhoods and sell you crappy food and sell you alcohol. Okay, all these things it's only going to get worse. So I mean, you have to pick your poison. Secured entrepreneurs, I want to hear from you. Comment below. Let Miss Aurorah know what your thoughts are on this thing that Biden is hopping on, because I just really believe that there are far more important issues to concern ourselves with, concern the country with, than telling people you're going to tax the ultra rich. And hello. All right, that's all Miss Aurorah wants to share in this video. You all know you can find me, Miss Aurorah Dey, at AurorahDayConsulting.com. And until next time, ta-ta.